Hi everyone, my name is Jade. I own and operate Calver & Associates Canadian Immigration Services. We're a full-service immigration firm located in the heart of Oshawa, Ontario. It's the end of April 2020 and we're right in the midst of COVID-19, so it's the global virus pandemic. And we're getting lots of questions from our clients about how their immigration applications are being affected by the COVID-19 related restrictions and what they should do about it. So we're here today to kind of talk about the various scenarios in terms of travel restrictions and what that means for you and your family. So to start, we're going to kind of talk about general restrictions that have been imposed by the Canadian government for travel to Canada. So all of the borders are closed to travelers who are not Canadian citizens or permanent residents of Canada. It's closed to all non-essential travelers. And of course, the government has banned anyone showing symptoms from boarding planes to Canada. And we only have 4 major Canadian airports operating at this time, so we have to keep that into consideration as well. So more importantly, what my clients are most interested in is, are they affected by these travel restrictions? So there are certain exemptions to these travel restrictions as of today's date. So I'll go through the exemptions for temporary residents first. So those working, all temporary workers who have an approved work permit or a letter of entry, so that's the letter from Immigration Canada saying that you're approved for the work permit, you're actually able to fly to Canada and enter. You are actually subject to a mandatory 14-day quarantine, which the government is actually following up on, so you have to follow that mandatory quarantine period. But at the moment, they're letting all foreign workers with the approved work permit or POE letter into Canada. Similarly, international students who hold a valid study permit or whose study permit was approved prior to March 18th, 2020 are also able to enter Canada. So that means most international students who have an approval will be able to travel to Canada. There are some restrictions. If it was after March 18th and your permit wasn't yet approved, we may have to double check that for you, but for the most part, most international students with an approved study permit are able to fly to Canada as well. And lastly, so permanent resident applicants, so those who have applied for permanent residency in Canada and who have not yet completed their landing in Canada. So if you have an approval letter from Immigration Canada, you're actually able to fly to Canada now to be approved as a permanent resident. If for whatever reason there's an expiration date that you can't meet on your confirmation of permanent residency document, then you have to show proof of why you can't fly to Canada. Maybe you can't get a flight before then, and then you have to contact your local visa office who issued your COPR in order to extend the validity of that visa. So that kind of covers the immigration side of things, so temporary residents and approved permanent residency applicants. And then the third part of it, so the exemptions for people who are related to Canadians. So Immigration Canada, there are a list of exemptions of those people. It is quite broad for family members. So if you have a Canadian spouse or common law partner, you can travel to Canada regardless of your immigration status for the most part in Canada. If you are a child of a Canadian, but again, you have to be under the age of 22 in order to be able to enter, because that's the definition of a dependent child. If you are the parent or step-parent of a Canadian, or of that person's spouse or common law partner. And lastly, if you are the legal guardian of a Canadian, you're also able to enter Canada. So again, these family member definitions are quite broad, and it's nice because it allows a lot of people who are on super visas, for example, to travel to Canada and to enter the country. So that's pretty much sums up where we're at as of the end of April 2020 in terms of travel restrictions that have been imposed by the Canadian government due to COVID-19 issues. For more updates, again, these things are continually changing. Please get in contact with us. We're online at calvertimmigrationservices.com.